Hi, welcome back to the Halosphere Masterclass. My name is Sebastian, and today we're going to be looking at smarter reporting insights with the new features that we have this upcoming year. The three features we're going to be looking at today are AI reporting generator, reporting insights, and then changes to our permission structure to allow you to delegate out reporting access in a more efficient way to the rest of your organization. So we're going to start by looking at AI reporting generator. You can do this just by going straight to your reporting area, creating a new report, and you will see under your data source section that you have Use AI Query Builder. What you'll initially see is a prompt page that would provide some instructions around defining any user-defined values, and then you'll see in this bottom section here, you can test your SQL script that gets generated. So I'm just going to paste in a query here. So you'll see here that I've written a query, quite simply write a query that returns all incidents for the last month with some of the core information that you're going to want, be that ticket ID, summary, team response, and date closed. You'll see we'll go ahead and hit the generate report button here, and it will send over the prompt that you have written in, check the database schema that we have on file, and then generate the query for you. My report has now successfully generated, so you'll see if we go ahead and refresh this report, it's got the response time, the team, the summary agent, all of those core columns that we had outlined there. A secondary example of this use case, we're going to also look at the actual process on the ticketing side, maybe to try and give some more insight. So you'll see here on my incident workflow, we have our escalation process, where I have added a reason for escalation. So your business case here might be we have too many incidents flowing from a first line to a second line team, and we want to gain some insight into why that might be happening. So I've added in a escalation field on the escalate action. So anytime it's driven upwards in that process, it will be escalated. And as we move now over to our reporting insights, in a similar way, we use the AI Query Builder to determine the reporting data that we want on this side. So you can see here, I've written out a query for this use case. So give me a count of all tickets logged in the last week, where they have the escalated action that we're looking at. Let's see if we go ahead and generate this report now. In the same way as we had with the previous example, it's going to look at the prompt that we've given it, send that over, and then return a SQL query for us. This can be very helpful, both just to give you some of the core columns that you need to be working with, and then modify the query from that stage, or it can also be quite useful in relation to manipulation of your data. So if you have a subset of information that's returned and you need a grouping by a certain category, whether that is by team or by agent, by date logged, it can also be quite useful in that context. So our query has now generated, and what you'll see is we ended up with the count for the number of escalated tickets that we were looking for, and then the corresponding escalation reasons there as well. We're now going to be moving on to our AI reporting insights. We're going to be continuing the use case that we had there to begin with, around the escalation reasons in our business and things flowing, too many tickets flowing to the second or third line teams. You can see here I have a report broken down by agent of why they've escalated their tickets, whether that is imminent SLA breach or outside of areas of expertise, broken down by the last week. What we can go ahead and do is we can move to our details section. What you can see here is I've got my AI prompt, and what we can see is really the core considerations that you're making while you're reviewing the report. So in this example, I want to understand which agents have struggled this week and the core reasons why they specifically have struggled, and then any wider trends of why my tickets are being escalated. Once you've inputted your prompt, you can hit your Analyze Report button. And that will send over the reporting data that we have with the prompt that you provided it. Let's provide some tangible insights into the actual data that you have. So you just have to review the data and draw your own conclusions. You can have sort of that semantic layer in between to help you draw insights. So in this example, we can see immediately James has the highest number of escalations because his tickets are falling outside his area of expertise. We see potential skills mismatch. And then we can see for Sebastian, the escalation count is primarily due to SLA. So that can speak to overwhelming workloads or something else in that vein. We also then have the broader insights into not just on a per agent basis, but other things we can do to improve our escalation issue around skills gap analysis or enhancing knowledge sharing. Some other core use cases that we've seen with clients are around SLA reporting. So you might have SLA reports that show your SLA percentage metrics and whether you're meeting them. What is it that constitutes good in your mind? What is it that constitutes excellence? Being able to define 90% SLA or 80% SLA is good or excellent. You can then input that into your prompt and then have a kind of core insight just at a quick glance. Generally speaking, based on predefined criteria, are we excellent in our SLA metrics or are we just good? Another core example here might be around SLA breach reasons. You can, on an individual SLA, if we go to tickets, service level agreements, and moving into your SLA, you can define a reason to be prompted whenever response target or resolution target is breached. So you can drive that insight in your business. In a similar way, you would then end up with a report that had potentially 200 breaches for SLA. It can be quite potentially difficult reviewing all that data to come up with a sort of semantic overview of what the core reasons are, but that would be another core use case. Evaluate that in your AI prompt and then have a semantic oversight over all the core reasons there. The last feature that we're going to be looking at today is around reporting permissions and really how you can improve reporting delegation throughout your organization. So the use case here we're going to be looking at first and foremost is around the HR team and the HR forms that they'll be submitting and having oversight of. If we move into Jennifer here, you'll see we have our options around creation of SQL data sources and then usage of data sources. So where we're going to focus on around is the usage of data sources. For my first line human resources officer, what we can see here is Jenna has access to data sources only. If we move over to the reporting section, data sources are the way in Halo that you can predefine a query that pulls a large subset of data, allowing for the building of reporting from the previously defined data sets. So you can see here I have a human resources dataset that has a wide array of columns around item type, source, username, site ID, SLA. Clearly too broad of a data set for one specific report. But what this allows us to do is to have a predefined data source and then the building of reports specifically from the data source by defining certain columns that we'd like to use from the native data source. You can see we can give her access specifically to the data source, and then you can build fields from the data source itself. So in this example, we only need the ticket ID, summary, status, and category. And I only want to review them for employee verification letter requests. So you can see we've narrowed down our fields that we've pulled from the core data source and included only the certain ticket type that we want. This allows even your first line level agents to create reports from predefined data sources and have control over reporting on that side. The next use case we're going to be looking at here is around our HR administrator. So these use cases are where typically we've delegated access out to the process owner to have control over the configuration of the corresponding ticket types, workflows, and actions. So if we go ahead and move into Robert here, who's my HR manager, you will see we have given him the access to use the query builder and the data sources. So as with our previous example, we can build reports from the inbuilt data source. We can also natively use the query builder. This will apply the corresponding department and team permissions that Robert has access to. So we can allow him to generate dynamic reports inherent in the permission structure that we've already outlined. We go ahead and impersonate Robert. We'll give an example here. So if I'm Robert and I've denoted against my lever request, we need to capture a new subset of information. So we need to add a leaving reason as an example. Robert has full process ownership over this form. So we can add in a leaving reason field. We're going to make sure that that is a required field for agents and for users. If we go ahead and log a lever request now, fill out all the corresponding information, employee ID, the email address, and the leaving reason field that we just added. Now, as Robert has just dynamically created this form, it would not be in the existing data source that we had for the request. Therefore, we want to allow Robert to build reports for the dynamic processes with which he is changing. If we move over to our reporting section, we will see if you create a new report and go into the data sources, we have the option to select the data source as we did previously with Jennifer, pull the large subset of predefined reporting data and build reports from that. So you also now have the use query builder option. We can then pick the entity with which you would like to build a report off of. As you can see here, we are applying the agent's permissions on that side. And we end up with a new view here in fields and conditions, whereby we can add in the kind of core ticket fields or the asset fields based on the record that we are building the report for. But we see we also have a custom field visible for him that he just made that he can also add into his report. What we'll do here is we will also add a ticket type filter for the lever. As we can see now, all of the columns that we added in our query builder, ticket ID, the summary, the details, as well as the date time created and added, as well as our custom leaving position field. So here we've outlined the two different layers of permissions that we've added on the reporting side to help you delegate out reporting access across your organization. First and foremost, using the inbuilt data sources, allowing first line, also lower level agents across departments to build reports, but only from a defined data source. And then you have higher level here around the query builder and data sources. This allows for access to the data sources as we touched on before, but also to build dynamic reports for process owners as well. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions on any of the things we outlined, don't hesitate to reach out on our community page. I'll be happy to provide some more detail. Thanks.